Hi folks, welcome back to the greenhouse. It's another beautiful spring day here and I'm going to go through my entire process of how I sow my seeds, and by the end of this video hopefully you'll have the tools to be able to have great success sowing your own seeds. I have a few different types of trays here that I use. These are 77 cell trays from Fruit Hill Farm here in Ireland. And they're great quality. They're just really rigid. I've had these for nearly 4 years now and they haven't cracked, or they have a big hole in the bottom of them that you can get your finger through to push up a cell. These are ones that I got in the garden centres a few years ago, and they just break up. They're really flimsy and cheap, and they only last really 2 seasons if you're doing well. Really crackly. I just broke it even further now. They're absolutely useless. They're cheap, but really these are cheaper in the long run. So another case of buy cheap, buy twice. And then these are 35s and 21s. So I've cut up these 77 cell trays into 3 pieces. So I get 221 and 135 from a 77 cell tray. This is just from this year. I'm scaling down a bit and doing smaller amounts of certain crops. So it's nice to have these small trays, and they actually cut up really easily just with a handsaw. So that was brilliant. And so now I've got these nice small trays and they're just super strong, so, and have the big holes. So I'm really happy with these. You'll get them from Fruit Hill Farm, who I have no affiliation with. They're just brilliant. So first things first, I'll go over my seeds, what I'm going to be planting today. This is my planting calendar. I could do another video on this to go into details. If you want to see more, let me know. But from this, I'm able to order all my seeds at the start of the year. I know exactly how many I'm going to need and what beds they're going to be going into in the garden ahead of time. So it saves me time during the growing season. I can kind of plan this over Christmas and be super efficient during the growing season. So I'll know exactly how many trays I need, so I need to do that out. So I think I need 3 21s, 135 today, and 5 77 cells. So I'm going to go get those now. I should say as well that I never clean my trays. I used to many years ago, but I haven't in at least 6 years, and I haven't had any problems ever since. Maybe if you were getting your trays secondhand and they were coming from somewhere that you didn't know, or you might want, and they had chemicals in them, or there was a possibility that there was disease. But otherwise, I don't think it's really worth the effort year to year, and I just go ahead and dust them off, dust off the cobwebs, and don't worry about it too much. If you have problems, maybe give it a go. So this is the compost that I use. It's a peat-free seed compost, and it's made in Germany, I think. It's a really high quality compost, and yeah, I've had great success with it. But I used to just use multi-purpose compost and I'd sieve it out, or you can make your own compost and sieve it out as well. Just make sure that you get a nice fine compost when you're sowing seeds. Depends on what seeds, but a lot of seeds just prefer a finer compost with a bit of sand in it to allow for good drainage. So I use one of these tubs to pour the compost into. It just makes it a little bit easier to break up any clumps and get it out and into the trays. You can just take it from the bag if you want, but I prefer to do this. Probably won't use it all today, so I'll save this in the bag, keep it nice and damp. So at first spread it out evenly across the surface of the tray, but these ones on the outsides are definitely going to have less in them, so I'm going to have to pat them down and make sure that they're filled. It's the quality compost there. There's a worm in it. Another worm. We'll put those into the beds behind us so they're not going into these tiny little cells. Now I'm going to pat these down, and these ones go down nearly halfway. They're not nearly full. You want to have them really firm, not too firm, but enough so that when you put water into them, that they're not just going to flatten out. And the firmer they are, the more they'll hold water over the next few days while you're germinating them. These ones here at the sides they have barely anything in them. So now I'll put another few scoops on top again. Pat down the outside ones again. Make sure that they're fully filled. So we are all nice and firm, full cells. Then just stack them on top of each other for now. Put them to the side. Work on the next bunch. Putting them beside each other is the best. I used to put 6 along in the row, and that's even better, but I'm just working with this small table here today. And I haven't pre-wetted this compost. I'm just putting it in as it came. It's a little damp it's supposed to be a bit damp. That's healthy. But if you wet this first and then try and put it into the cells, you're just going to have a mucky mess, and it's going to not be easy to do. So we're going to do this first, and then we're going to wet it afterwards. To water the trays, I placed them all down on a level bit of ground, all side by side, and here I gave all these about 5 litres of water first, and then I waited for that water to soak in to the trays for about a minute. I then gave them another run over with the watering can, again about another 5 litres, and let that soak in too. You want them to be really well soaked. The last thing you want to do is superficially water them where they're wet on top and then dry at the bottom. When germinating seeds, they need to be kept damp at all times. If they dry out, the seeds will die, especially if it just starts to germinate and then loses any access to moisture. The young seedling will just dry up and never have a chance. So I have my seeds here in this bag, already picked out for today. And not doing that. So we have beetroot, scallions, Japanese scallions. Oh, more beetroot. I have two types of beetroot. We have chili peppers, sweet peppers, coriander and dill. Mange 2 peas, spinach and aubergines. So start by putting a hole in the center of each cell. We're going to be sowing the peppers and aubergines first. For most seeds, I go down to about the tip of my nail and then cover it over. If you're ever confused, you can always check the seed packet, and it'll usually give you some detailed instructions on the depth that that particular seed needs. So I always multi-sow. Here I'm going to put 3 into each cell, especially because these are actually a little bit old. I could even put 4 into each cell. So that triples my chance of getting a good healthy seedling. And even if all 3 come up, one will be healthier than the others. Not all seed are created equal, and some seeds just produce healthier plants than others. So you always want to pick out the healthiest plant, and that will always become the healthiest plant in the future. This is just a beautiful day to be doing this here in the greenhouse. It's about 20 degrees in here at least. The sun is shining and we've got that chill February wind outside, that chill February breeze, but in here there's none of that. It's just, might as well be a day in July in here. It's lovely. So that's the chilies. I have 3 or 4 seeds in each cell, and I can thin them out when they come up. Put put them aside for now. And this is the sweet peppers. California Wonder is the variety. And same thing again. Put 3 per cell. The amount of seeds that you put per cell can vary from species to species, but I'll put up a list on screen. If you want to pause the video, you can see what I sow for each seed. Then this is aubergine Black Beauty. Aubergines is something that I struggled with for years, and yeah, if you stick by the guidelines that I put out in this video, you'll definitely have success with them. So 3 per cell again. Aubergines are probably one of the hardest common vegetables to grow in Ireland. It's really rewarding when you can pull it off. They require a little bit more heat. Tomatoes and peppers are a bit more forgiving. Tomatoes especially are very forgiving, but aubergines and peppers they really rely on the heat, especially when they're young. And you want to start them nice and early in the season as well, to make sure that you get a big enough plant by the time that they start to fruit. So now I have all my seeds in. I'm just going to pinch them together to cover them up. Two hands at a time. Just pinch together these little holes and job done. For labels, I got these ones for free, but usually I use these yogurt tubs that I've cut up. So you can see that they were a yogurt tub on the back, and they're pretty much the same thing, it's a bit of plastic. If you have something that you can cut up and recycle, all the better, rather than getting these. I got them for free with something, so I'm just going to use them because they're clean and easy to use, but these work just as well. I use a little Sharpie, and that makes sure that the writing stays on it while you're watering it. And you can even reuse these as well, because if you rub them, it does actually come off, but it won't come off with the water. You have to really give them a bit of grit to rub them off. And that's those ones. Move on to the next ones. You can stack them up on each other for now. It doesn't make any difference. I'll put them to the side. So once I have all my seeds sown and my labels on them, I bring them inside to germinate. You don't need any light to germinate, which is something that a lot of people don't actually realize, and you need a lot more heat to germinate them than you do to actually grow them. So most seeds prefer to be kind of between 20 to 30 degrees Celsius when they're germinating. So if you want almost 100% success with germination, you're better off to have them inside in your kitchen or your living area, wherever. It kind of gives you an excuse to turn on the heating as well and keep it above 18 degrees if you can. You also want to keep an eye on them and water them about every second day. Make sure that none of the cells are drying out. Some might dry out faster than others, so you want to just keep an eye on them and make sure that they don't dry out. So if you keep them at those optimum temperatures above 18 degrees Celsius, you're going to have much better germination, almost 100%, and you're going to have much faster germination. They should all germinate around the same time, whereas if I just left these out here, I'd have far less success with germination. It would be erratic. Some would come up maybe after a few days and some might take 2 weeks. So I always germinate mine inside, and I find wherever I can for them. And it gives me an excuse to keep my office at a warm temperature and in the cold days of early spring as well. So it's a win-win in my opinion. Once they do start to germinate, you want to really keep an eye on them. Brassicas, especially anything in the cabbage family, will germinate probably after about 3 days in those temperatures. So the second that you see a little green shoot start to appear, you want to get it out into the light as fast as possible. A greenhouse like this is optimal because I have light coming from above. You'll see with a windowsill, your plants will generally face outwards and they'll get a bit leggy. They just don't have enough room. If you're growing in a windowsill, I'd say wait a little bit until later in the year when the sun is a little bit higher in the sky and the days are a little bit longer. They're getting more light. Early in the year, you want to make sure that they're getting as much light as possible if you're bringing them outside, and they should be able to withstand cold temperatures in a place like this, or in a cold box either. Also, after they've germinated and they are actually seedlings, you can hold off on the water. You don't want to overwater young seedlings, or you can get what's called damping off, which is a fungal disease which will kill off. They'll just die at the base of the plant. So don't be afraid to let it dry out a little bit, but not too much, obviously. So that's just something to be aware of. But yeah, that's pretty much it, I think, for this video. If you want to see more, subscribe and stick a like on it, and let me know any questions you have in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you next time.